We're back.
And we're back.
Another episode. If you're watching on YouTube, you could tell this is probably the most tan that we've been this summer.
On YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. So we got that going for us. But I want to get right into the fights right away. There's a lot to talk about. So we'll start with the prelims. The fight that I was almost like looking forward to the most on this was Andre Muniz and Uriah Hall. I've seen Andre Muniz for all four of his fights, and I remember right away, like, I think his second fight in the UFC, he fought Jacare, and he snapped his arm in half, like broke his arm. And I was like, this dude's going to be UFC champion. And I think that he has a really good chance to be a UFC champion with his skill set, just because he's that combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Like, he's not like an amazing jiu-jitsu guy who has to like pull guard.
Right.
Like, kind of even Damian Maia used to basically get half guard and then sweep the person and get on top and then submit it to everyone.
Yeah.
This guy has that level of jiu-jitsu, but takedowns, like,
ability
as
to, like,
good as anyone in the UFC to take someone down and put him on the mat.
And hold him there.
Like, he had Uriah Hall down, I mean, probably for like 13 minutes out of 15. All sick takedowns.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, he looked amazing. Uriah Hall's, top of the food chain. I mean, top 10 guy, perennial top 10 guy.
Yeah, he's not now.
No?
Is he?
I think he was like ranked 10th.
Oh,
because now he's ranked 10th.
I feel like he just isn't as active, so I kind of forget about him.
Yeah, but I'm really interested to see who he'll fight next. And I was thinking right away during that fight, I said his next fight, and I think this will probably happen, it would be Jack Hermanson.
Yeah, that
would be a sick fight because they're both like high level grapplers. I could see him fighting Jack Hermanson next.
Jack.
Yeah, that's that. I think that would be cool. Then he'd probably move into like the top 6. Then after that, you're like, one fight away.
Especially
he's
if
probably
he's
2
having,
fights
like,
away.
Finishes and stuff.
Yeah, but super impressive with that fight. Then another fight in the prelims, we had Jim Miller and Cowboy. It's kind of like 2 legendary guys. Obviously, there's I think like almost 75 UFC fights between the two.
That's so insane.
75.
Yeah.
So now Jim Miller has the most wins in UFC history, but I also think he has the most fights. But he also has the most wins for sure.
Yeah.
24 wins in the UFC.
They're both like older, like legendary fighters, but I still think that, I mean, obviously he won, but even before the fight, I was thinking like Jim Miller's still kind of in it more.
Yeah, it seems like it. I was thinking about it. Who had like, I think Cowboy had a better, like, he reached higher levels. Cowboy was a couple times, like one fight. I think he fought for the belt 2 different times, but he's had some amazing wins if you look at everyone he's beat. But so that was kind of a good fight for both of them. But yeah. Jim Miller, obviously, he's on a 3-fight win streak, which is just insane.
Did Cowboy take his gloves off?
Yeah, Cowboy's done. Yeah, he retired.
There's a lot of people. I feel like that's been happening. So many people have been doing that lately.
So I think Cowboy has lost, 8 in a row to finish out his career. And I just got to thinking, like, is it better to like go out kind of on top or towards the top, or like ride it till the wheels fall off? What do you think's better?
I mean, I go back and forth. I think it's better to go out like on top because it kind of ruins your legacy a little bit. But then also, like, for fighters that aren't like someone like Cowboy or the like legendary fighter. Well, Cowboy's in a different position. He can lose, and he's got like that Masvidal and Nate Diaz effect where he can lose a lot and people still think he's like kind of the best, but for other fighters, I feel like it, like, I don't know, it kind of ruins their legacy, and they are good fighters. It's just they kind of, outgrow it a little bit, or whether they're in it mentally or physically. I don't know. I kind of think it makes me sad when I see really good fighters or legendary fighters start to go out and like sort of losing like their last couple. It's sad.
Now, usually I agree with that, but like you said, Cowboy's whole like thing was just I show up and fight. The wins and losses didn't really matter. Whereas like Anderson, because Cowboy was never really on top, so he can't go out on top.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd go out at your peak when you're like fourth or something, but maybe then you could think you're going to be a champ. So he was never really like in a position to go out on top. So I think for him, ride it till the wheels fall off was kind of his whole like cowboy persona.
I agree.
Whereas like Anderson Silva finished his career pretty similar. He had lost, I think, 7 in a row, his last 7. And for him, I think that tarnished his legacy, because had he gone out like, you know, after maybe one, when he lost the belt to the second time to Weidman, broke his leg really bad, then I think people would have him in the like the greatest of all time conversation a lot more. And I think at his peak, he was, you know, top 5 greatest of all time. But I think now people sort of forget that, because he tarnished his legacy a little bit by, you know, staying till the very end.
Kind of like BJ Penn.
BJ Penn did the same thing. Yeah, it's an
sad because
approach.
I don't know, it's just kind of sad to watch. But I get it from their point of view too. Like, they're probably happy with what they accomplished, you know, as a fighter, and they're making a lot of money. So they probably think to themselves like, oh, I'm going to retire. And then they're like, what else am I going to do? And then they go to the gym. They're like, probably like, well, I'm still training and I'm still like beating up people, other fighters in the gym. So like, whatever, I'll just do one more because you love to do it.
Right.
And it's good money, you know? So I think that's why they get suckered in to keep going, to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think that he kind of did it the only way that he was going to do it. Just fight until the very end, so there's nothing left in the tank, and then, you know, just move on. But he's obviously made a ton of money at a lot of like fight bonuses and so many movies. He's had a huge following. So, I mean, he's had like, that's an amazing career. He had like a, you know, probably close to a 20-year professional fight career.
Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, that's an amazing...
Like, gaining like fame from it, because some people, like someone like Jim Miller has that, but he doesn't have the fame and like the following and the, you know, the ability to be in movies and make money from movies and social media and stuff. Although I think he does do like hunting stuff, but still
but like
not
no
to the
comparison.
Level, not
like
to the
you would
level
think
Cowboy.
that if you're around that long and had that many fights, but Cowboy had so many like performance bonuses, main events,
and his personality is just, you know.
Yeah, but he, you know, good career, but I think I'm happy he retired now, right?
Yeah.
It sucked for him to like, I'm gonna do one more.
I mean, it's kind of what he just did.
Yeah. No, it's good. Then we got to the main card, Strickland and Alex Pereira. I was kind of a little disappointed with that. I thought I wanted to see like it go into like later rounds. I wanted to see how Pereira would do against like a really seasoned MMA fighter. But Strickland was like the perfect matchup because he's not going to wrestle. And I'm sure that he has I think he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Strickland.
But I'm sure he has like good takedowns. He's been doing it so long. But I think he wanted to prove a point that I could strike with anyone. And that guy, I don't think he's just anyone.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Strickland does not move his head 1 inch, like ever. It just stays right in the middle.
Yeah, he
doesn't even bend his knees. It's so weird. It's like when I see him, like,
but he usually doesn't get hit. He really does have very good.
But it's so weird because
defense.
He doesn't like move.
Yeah, he has an unusual style.
Yeah.
But it would have been, I
feel like if I tried to do that style, I would just get so fucked up. Like it works but it's not in this fight. But most fights it works for him.
Yeah.
But then this fight, it obviously, like in this fight, I'm like, well, of course he got knocked out. He's just standing straight up with his head. But that's what he normally does, and it usually works.
He usually doesn't get hit. He has real good like defense.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But yeah, Pereira is just a devastating striker, and he's so big. Like, and imposing. I think I read that he fought the day of the fight. He was 219.
Wow.
So he weighed in at 184 and he was 219 the next day.
That's crazy. That's
pretty
so
insane.
I don't know how you can gain that much weight and like not be sick.
Yeah.
Like still have energy. Because some people are like, oh, that you gain so much weight. It's such an advantage. But I just think of it.
That's 35 pounds.
I just think of you gaining that much weight. You're like, gotta have a tummy ache.
Yeah. But
crazy.
It looks like now he's gonna fight Izzy. So I mean, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
And we'll get into Izzy, but
Yeah.
I think that.
I was like, wait, are we going into that now?
No. But it's gonna be a cool fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Volkanovski and Holloway.
I'm happy that it was a dominant win.
I am too, and
I did
like
want to
Max.
see another fight. And yeah, I like Max too, but I like Volkanovski better.
Yeah.
I'm like you know what I mean? I've always liked Max. I think he's cool. I love watching him fight, but I was never like a diehard Max fan like most people.
Yeah, I think it just would have sucked if Max would have won, because then they would have had to do a fourth fight. Then if Max won again, they'd have to do a fifth fight, and then it's like the rest of their career. They're probably not going to fight many more than 3 more times each.
Yeah, and that would suck for everyone else in the division.
It would, yeah. So it was kind of like the best case scenario, because it was as dominant of a win as you could possibly have without getting the finish.
Yeah.
I think they should have stopped it,
but
Max is so tough that he just kept fighting. But I think they probably should have stopped it. The doctors with that bad cut. After that win, I have Volkanovski as he's my top 5 greatest of all time.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Top 5.
He is
of all
so
time.
good, and I feel like he's got to be getting like more credit, right?
Yeah. John Jones, Henry Cejudo, Khabib, GSP, Volkanovski.
Damn.
I think that he's there. I mean, how do you?
People are gonna come
not?
for you.
People probably will, but I mean, Usman's right there also. Maybe you could take Khabib out, put Usman in, but Volkanovski has to be in the top, the discussion. Just so good at everything.
Yeah.
And his pace is just incredible.
So what, you think will go up next?
I kind of think so.
Yeah. It kind of almost sucks for him, because it's almost like he has to. It's like when champs are so dominant, they're like, why don't you go up? It's not good enough.
Well, it's kind of cool
People
that
do that
Khabib
with
never
Valens.
wanted to. Khabib was like, I'm a 155 undisputed.
But they no one ever really gave him shit for that.
No, because he owned it. He just said,
That's kind of what Valentina does. But now she said might maybe go up. But for a while they were like, well, why don't you go back up to fight Valentina? She's like, well, this is my weight division. Like, let me do this first. Which I get, but it's kind of like a disadvantage for people that are really dominant. Then they're like, instead of getting credit for being so dominant, they're like, why don't you move to a different weight division
something
too?
else, do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that he'll probably move up, but 155 is weird right now because there's really not a champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to have a fight for the vacant belt. I guess maybe he could fight for the vacant belt.
Yeah.
That's maybe what he could do. Just him fight Charles next for a vacant belt. But I would imagine they'd want the belt to be established
before he fights her. Maybe not.
Maybe not. But it's interesting. But I think he'll probably move up, but just an amazing performance. Then we had the main event, Israel and Cannonier. It was just like a dominant win, really.
Mm-hmm.
Just was never in trouble at all. I saw a lot of, like, Israel's getting a lot of backlash, like, for being a boring fighter, and you talk all this shit and then you go out and pitter patter. And I think that is the most ridiculous thing ever, because he's fighting the very, very best of the very best every single fight. And like, he's dominating so much that he doesn't need to push the pace. Like, if someone started fucking him up, he'd have to fight back harder. Then it would be more of an exciting fight. So people that criticize Israel, that they just want to see like
blood and guts. Yeah.
Like, they don't appreciate greatness. Like, Israel is as great as you could possibly be.
You're looking at it from like a technical standpoint, which is what I do too. And I think it's like, to be able to just not really put that much effort out, so quote unquote effort, you know what I mean? I'm sure he's putting effort, but just to be able to like stick and move and not get hit, I think that's so impressive, rather than just someone who just stands there and hits a little bit harder or a little bit more.
Like, give and take.
But
yeah, it takes
I'm also
no damage.
like I like seeing technical fights. You know what I appreciate the high level there, rather than just like, a brawl, which sometimes I like watching that too. But for like a championship fight, I like that. The other fights are good for, not title fights.
Right. it's very similar to what he's doing, dominating with distance and range, and his striking is very similar to what GSP did for so many years
Yes.
with just wrestling.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, GSP just takes people down and lays on them. He's boring. But you're only fighting the best of the best. There's no margin of error. If you could win like that many against
All
the number
the
2
best.
guy,
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I think so.
But yeah,
I
don't
just
know.
want to his French manicure though.
You love that.
I feel like no one's talking about it. And I can't shut up about it. In all the media days pictures you're looking, and like he has like a full French manicure.
You loved it.
Yeah, but I'm just annoyed because when I fight, they like give me shit about my nails and make me cut them. And I think he might have fought with them because at the post, couldn't tell in the fight, but the post fight conference, he had like long French manicure nails.
Really?
Yeah.
You think they let him fight with that?
Yeah, and that was Vegas. I fought the same commission.
And they made you cut him?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
It's not fair.
You should petition.
I should. Maybe I have to be the champ to
Yeah,
have my
if you're
nails.
a champ, you could get a little longer nails.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his next fight, Pereira, that'll be exciting. I don't know. Like, it's basically, if Pereira beat him in kickboxing, it's probably going to be a kickboxing fight, but with small gloves and like a cage, it is totally different.
It is different.
I mean,
Very
Israel's
different.
not going to like level change and take him down.
Mhm.
Will basically be a kickboxing fight with small gloves.
Right.
But
it's
with the
different with
cage,
cage control.
yeah, it's totally different.
Cage control, and like he could still clinch.
Right.
It's definitely different. It's
Yeah.
like being like,
And the rounds, like the length of the rounds,
Mhm.
like 5.5s is tough.
yeah,
Right. Because kickboxing probably does what, 2 or 3 minute rounds?
probably 3.
3 minute. That's a lot different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not that many, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think that because he lost to him in kickboxing. I don't think that really.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. But even though it will be, like, it's not like he's going to use
Maybe
wrestling to
mentally,
beat
maybe
him.
mentally. Who knows? It could be in his head, or who knows.
Yeah. It'll be, definitely a fun, interesting fight.
It's a fun build up because he lost to him.
Yeah. And like it's finally he's going against someone who like matches him physically, or probably is actually more physically imposing. Like
Yeah.
Israel's so long and he could keep the range so well. And this guy's just as long and probably
knows how to
bigger
use his
though.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he kind of has, that's probably the first time that he's had someone like that. Well, I guess Anderson Silva, but he was older.
Yeah, that doesn't
But-
count.
Yeah. But he's gone against people that he has a significant length advantage, reach advantage. But yeah, either way, I think it'll be a exciting fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were the fights. Anything else?
We saw for the girl flyweights, Macy Barber beat Jessica Ai, and
Yeah.
then Jessica Ai retired.
Jessica Ai retired. Into the sunset.
Adios.
Yeah. That's kind of like
That was a weird fight. I feel like
Weird
Jessica
fight.
Ai's like better than her, but just kind of fought stupid.
she just was obsessed with like just clinching.
Yeah.
I think if she would have kept it in the open a little bit, she would have done better. But yeah. But so now Macy has 3 wins in a row, so maybe she'll fight someone,
Yeah.
a little higher ranked.
I wouldn't
We'll
mind
see.
fighting her.
That'd be great. Yeah. Call her out.
I call like everyone out.
I don't think she wants to fight you,
Probably not.
to be honest. But we'll see. So we got like a bunch of fan questions this week. So let's answer those.
Okay.
Someone asked, what do you look for in an MMA manager?
Okay. So I guess it all depends where you're at in your career. I think and I don't even know if I'm the right person to ask because I've had like 45 managers. So maybe I'm the worst person to ask. But I think if you're starting off, it depends. Like if you're a girl, I think if you do good, girl or guy, if you're really good, you're going to get in the UFC. You kind of don't need a manager in the beginning, in my opinion. Especially if you have like a coach that can kind of manage you and help you with picking fights, because managers don't help you pick fights and strategy. You and your coaches kind of have to do that, because I think people think that they know the sport. The managers are going to advise them like with that, but you, the fighter, probably know more about the sport and stuff
Than most managers.
than
yeah.
most managers. Yeah, not all of them, but most of them. And I think in the beginning, especially girls, it's a smaller pool. of fighters. So if you're good enough, you're gonna get into. You don't even have to have you don't even have to be like that good to get into the UFC. I don't think for girls. And then you obviously have to be good to stay in the UFC. So I don't think you need it. I see like amateur fighters like being like just signed with this person, and it's like I think sometimes for them it's kind of, they think it like looks cool to post like I have a
Yes.
manager. Well, you can have no fights and have a manager. Like some managers are just some random guy from a random gym. It doesn't really. It's not that, but I think for them it like looks cool. Like I just got signed with a manager, and they post it like they were like a sports agent or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cheesy, and I get it because I've, you know what I mean. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
You do think it like sounds cool, and but it's like when you're in it, you're like it's so cheesy. I think if you're a guy at a competitive weight class, you might need a manager to help you that has the connections in the UFC that helps you get into the UFC. You know,
Okay.
because then sometimes you can get into the UFC without having to do it on a 3 days notice.
Right.
Because a lot of times that's how people get in the UFC. So, you know, just being like someone backed out, we need a replacement, and then you're willing to do it during fight week.
Right.
But and I don't think you can expect managers to get you sponsors.
No.
I mean, some will, but you're not, you know, if you're going to get sponsors or not. You can get them on your own.
Because before social media, there's no like gauge of how much influence a fighter has. Be like,
Right.
well, he fights on TV, so a lot of people see him, so we give him X amount in dollars. But now there's like an exact gauge, exact barometer of like how famous you are, how many
Yeah.
people. If you have 2 million followers, you're going to get some sponsors.
Right.
If you have, 15,000, even if you fight on the same cards, you're not going to get sponsors.
Right. And that's what
so the manager has no influence of like, well, no, but he's really good. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares about their following. So that's why the manager getting sponsors isn't really a thing too much anymore.
Yeah. That's like I would see too, especially like with the girls, they would get annoyed. Like a couple years ago, they get so annoyed with Paige Van Zandt being. I'm like, you girls are just jealous,
right?
You know, like they would be like, oh, I'm so much better than her. She sucks. She's not even good.
You're missing it.
That's not how finance and like, you know, that's not how like sponsorship and social media and everything. That's how marketing works.
No,
she was on like. When she was on Dancing with the Stars, people would be like, why is she on it? Not like one of the champs. She's not even like, because she's cuter, she's prettier, she's more marketable, she's personable, and more people know about her.
Right.
And like girls would call her out and think that like, oh, well, if I beat her, that'll automatically, I'll get the sponsorships. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. You can knock her out in 1 second and no one cares about you. It's just, that's how it is, you know, just like you said, like, I'm number one in the world, but there could be a girl that's like hits a heavy bag in her basement and posts pictures of it and has a lot of followers. She's gonna get more fight sponsors than me,
right? Just
because she's more popular, and that's just how it is. And people are like, that's so wrong. I'm like, no, that's totally fair. That's how it works,
right?
But so I don't think like if managers are promising you, I think sometimes they can help you get some sponsorships, but if one
they could get one like a friend. Oh, I'm friends with this company, and they give all of my fighters $1,000 for every fight. All right, so that's like a charity. A sponsorship is different than charity, because a sponsorship, like Nike, for instance, they sponsor LeBron James. They probably give him like $100 million. I have no idea how much, but probably $100 million. And they only do that because they think that LeBron James is going to give them, $500 million in value. They're not giving him more than he's bringing to them. That's how sponsors work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like a charitable donation.
Exactly.
Right. So if you have like I said, 10,000 Instagram followers and you're, 3-1 in the UFC, like any sponsor you have is charity.
Right.
Right.
Or unless it's like a small company that likes you and then you think you're working together to build up.
Right.
Like they think they're getting in early on you and investing in you type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But a lot of that has to go with they like you.
Because they can't afford someone bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
But a lot of that might just be they believe in the person and then they like the person and they like working with them too. But I don't know. At the higher level, I think you go with one of the major players of the sport that has experience, the more fighters they have, the more leverage they have. They know how to. I think experience is huge because, there's some managers that want to go in and are newer or semi-newer, and they think, I'm going to make a splash in the MMA community and I'm going to be the biggest agent. I'm going to change it. I'm going to start unions and do all this, and I'm going to like change how it is. Well, unfortunately, UFC is not like that. And if you kind of go against them, you're going to get pushed out. And if you're a fighter underneath one of those managers that's doing that, you're going to suffer the consequence of it.
Right.
And nothing's going to really change. Unfortunately, it sucks. But so I think you're better off going with like fighters or managers that are more experienced and have the connections with the people in the UFC and know how to play the game and know what they want. And you know what I mean? Know how to talk to the UFC and not piss them off or,
right. Yeah. You could be the greatest like sports agent in the world. And then if you're like, I'm going to start managing fighters, that's not going to translate as well to someone who's been around and has all like the connections within the UFC and friends with the matchmakers. And, that's what matters. Someone's negotiating skills, I don't think matter a whole lot not with UFC.
Yeah.
The UFC pretty much, they know that they are basically in a position of a monopoly.
So someone new coming in, they're not going to have that experience and know. Like, to me, I'm like, there's a reason why there's a few managers that have most of the fighters. And most of the fighters, I think of it like if most of the fighters that are champs or have like, all the stardom and they're dealing with their contract, then they can deal with like other people's contracts.
Yeah. What you said is so funny though about, like at people's early stage in
like
their
the regional managers.
Yeah. The early stage in their career, you get excited to be like, oh, I have a manager now and I signed with the manager. And it's always like the same type of person, like that's like a regional level manager.
Yeah, that is the manager.
Hang around at gyms and I remember when I was fighting, I was living in Philadelphia and I signed with the manager like right away for my first like pro fight. And I was like so amped to do it, like kind of like bragging.
Yeah. Or like when when you're with your friends and someone calls and then they call you, you're like, oh, hold on, my manager's calling me. Yeah. Like you feel like cool saying that. And really it's like just some loser.
Yeah. So one time I had a fight in AC and it got canceled the day of. Okay. So I was like devastated.
Did the opponent weigh in?
No.
Okay.
No, I weighed in. He didn't. But my manager was there. And that was the night, we've told this story before, that I got, those girls kind of stole all my money.
Yeah.
So the next day I went out I met my manager for lunch. And I remember he gave me $200. And I was like bragging to I was like, dude, my manager gave me $200. He's like, he's so rich. It's crazy. He just handed it over. $200 just because I lost my money. He's like, he's like crazy rich like that. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. And then I was so impressed. And then on Tuesday, he hit me up. And he was like, hey, you got that 200? So I think it was just like a loan for the day.
But you thought he like gave it to you?
Yeah.
Did you have it to give it where you're like?
Yeah, I had it. Yeah.
But you're kind of
not much more than that, but I did have it. But I gave it back. It was kind of sucked. But I remember thinking when before that, I was like, this guy is like a boss.
Yeah.
But he had like all kinds of like fighters in Philadelphia and stuff. And he was like the kind of the guy.
He was the one. Yeah.
Yeah. But he would wear like a blazer.
When he asked for like $200, did that automatically change your opinion on him, or not really?
No, not
was it
really.
Just a little like, huh, that was weird.
Yeah, it was like kind of
because you're like, oh, maybe
weird.
he said it was a lot like.
Yeah, but a lot of the managers like that are always like, big news coming soon.
Yeah.
Big announcement coming next week.
Yeah. It's like, just say it now.
It's like, because it's always kind of just waiting.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. But that's a tough way to make a living, I think. Like, I think entry level.
On the regional level, I think it has to be like, that can't be your main source of income. Right?
No, I think if you're so we're getting away from the advice part, but
if
you're a fighter that's about to be a professional fighter, I think have someone, like you said, like a coach or, you know, a friend or someone to help you along the way with like guiding your career.
Especially if you're at a big gym.
But I don't think you should sign with a manager until like you really kind of need to.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to sign with a manager.
You can do the UFC, especially your first contract or even second contract. You can do without a manager.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a star.
The situation what happened with you was like, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but how your manager situation worked out.
Yeah.
That was like one of the best things that could have ever happened to your career.
Yeah. Well,
I mean
it was a good
financially.
It was a nice thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I'm definitely not one of the best,
No.
but yeah, it was a really
good.
So I was like signed with the manager, and then he left the company that he was at, and they were like, so the company was like, he signed me. I signed with him, but he works at the company. So when he left, the company was like, well, you have like 2 weeks to get out of your contract because he left and whatever. So I was like, okay.
So you could have left and gone with him or re-signed with the same agency, different representation.
Yeah. Or I didn't have to re-sign with him.
Or, yeah, okay.
I could have stayed with them or left.
Right.
You know, went with him, went with whoever I want. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll leave. Like they weren't really doing they never really got me any sponsors or did anything.
And you had just signed
and I think I like,
deal.
I think I was like 1 fight into my 6-fight contract. So I was like, okay. And now I'm like, my contract is already set. So like, and they weren't really getting me sponsors anyway. So I'm like, wow, the next 5 fights, I don't have to pay 10% to a manager.
I mean, that is crazy.
And it was like, you know, not the contract I'm in now, the one before. So it was like probably like I don't even know how many contracts. I think it was like my 3rd contract. It had my title fight in it. So I got super lucky with that. And then doing that, I was like, okay, like the only thing I have to do is like get my groceries during fight week.
Right.
Like I was like kind of nervous, and I'm like, well, you don't
could
really
just have
do
a friend do that though, right?
Yeah. I could have my cornerman that I'm paying to be there to go to the grocery store if I can't go myself.
But the way that worked out for you is like such a like good indicator of what a good manager. A good manager is you don't have to pay 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not necessarily getting more money because they've gotten you sponsors, but you're not paying out, you know, 10% of your your win bonus and everything.
Because it's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it was cool how that worked out for you. But then you got in a position where you sort of did need a manager.
Well,
again,
now
and now you're with Ali, who seems to have like the most connections within the UFC and really good relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
So at this stage in your career, then it made sense.
It made sense to have a good to have a good manager. I mean, I had to fight out my contract. I was like in a tussle back and forth, like didn't know what was going on, and I needed someone with good negotiating power, and you know had a good relationship. With the UFC, and obviously there's a reason why, you know, he has so many top fighters and probably the most fighters out of any manager.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, but I would assume, and it worked out great.
Yeah, so you've had
but you're regional and
ups
early
and downs
amateurs.
with so many different managers, but it really worked out really well for you.
Yeah,
but it always works out for you.
Yeah, but early on, you don't need to. It's not cool. It's cooler if like you don't do it.
Yeah, don't have a manager until you get with somebody you're either in the UFC or on the brink of being in the UFC, and then sign with someone who has a really good relationship with the UFC because they're not getting you sponsors or they're not.
And if they are, it's just little stuff that you could probably like. You could have your friend like message companies and say you're your manager, or make a fake email and message companies,
right?
And like email companies and pretend like you're the manager if you think it's gonna sound more professional and like.
But if they look at your social media following and that's cut and dry,
yes.
Right? Like if you don't have a big following, you're not going to get big sponsors.
Agreed.
So someone said thoughts on paying sparring partners. Like bringing someone in for camp for sparring.
Okay. So this is very common in boxing. Like in boxing, that's like more of a set thing.
Right.
But I also think in boxing, you don't really have teams and other, like as many boxers don't seem to have as many sparring partners and like teammates as MMA. I remember kind of off topic, but I went to earlier on. I haven't recently, but I used to go into boxing gyms all the time and spar. And I would go into Gleason's and a bunch of other boxing gyms in the city, and I would spar with these pro boxing girls. And I remember it was like my my second UFC fight. I was fighting at MSG, and it was a big deal because it was the first card at MSG. And I went to this boxing gym to spar this one girl that I've like randomly sparred like a couple other times. And then after, so me and her, when I go to these sparring gyms, they're not by any means helping me. They're trying to knock me out more than any other sparring partner. And I pay the gym to go into the gym, pay like a, whatever the day fee is for sparring. But the girl after was like, went up to like my coach at the time and was kind of asking like, okay, so next time it'll be like 300 a session for me to spar her. Now, mind you, we just sparred like 6 rounds, and I definitely won like 5 out of the 6 rounds. Like, we were helping each other. She was currently fighting, like she was in training to fight for a camp. I just went and
So she wanted not. Like, you'd think if you're an accomplished fighter, you are paying the person. She wanted.
She was pro. She was pro, but not like just very local.
So
I'm in the UFC.
Her job. She wanted to get paid to spar.
She thought I need to pay her to spar. Now I think maybe she thought like because I was in the UFC, I think maybe she didn't realize and was like, "Oh, you're fighting at MSG in the UFC." Maybe she on the Conor McGregor part. Maybe she thought like we were getting paid like millions of dollars. I didn't have an idea, but even still, it's like. You're currently fighting and I'm helping you. And I just always have gone into the gym and sparred the same circuit of girls, and that never happened. So I think she was just trying to like thought I was making more and was trying to like get that. But I was like,
kind of sad.
It was, and it was super weird because I was like, I just kind of fucked you up. Like, I mean, we were competing, but I definitely fucked her up. And I'm like, I'm helping you.
Yeah. I'd be like, wait.
Super weird. And I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not sparring anymore. I'm not paying $300 for a sparring session for you.
Right. But like if you went to her place though, that's like you were brought in to spar her. Mm-hmm. You'd think that
it was like mutual. Yeah, it was definitely mutual.
Right.
I think
But if she came to you,
if I said to her, "Hey, can you come to my gym for a week and spar me and blah blah blah," then I think I would offer to pay.
Right.
Especially so say I never bring in people just because I'm like I don't really like to have to like if I bring someone in to like train, first of all, I have training partners, so I think that's a big thing. But if I didn't or I needed a specific person, it would be really hard for me to bring someone in because one, I would have to like them because they would have to like stay with me. And I would have to, and for me, I drive to a million different gyms. I don't think anyone could really do that.
Like if anyone could keep up with you for one day,
I think I would never ask someone.
That would be like torture for anyone else.
Say I asked a girl from wherever, California, like, hey, can you train with me for 2 weeks? I'll pay you, but you stay with me. But I couldn't ask them because there's no way they would like drive 3 hours with me to sparring just so we could go in that cage so Mark could see us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just know they wouldn't want to. And I don't need it. Maybe if I needed to, I would try something different. And I don't like to like go somewhere else during my camp. I would never like go to a different camp.
Yeah, you've never paid for you've never even
I would maybe do it like cross train with other girls like in between camps.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if someone, I would be more apt to like go if another girl was like, hey, can you come train? But I would almost expect them to pay me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't expect them
I think it would be almost insulting to be a paid sparring partner. No, like, no, I'm training. We're both training.
Wouldn't expect them to pay me to spar, but like if they want me to come, like I don't know, if I wanted someone else to come, I think I would pay for their their flight and like to stay, make sure that I wouldn't just be like, hey, can you come? Cool. Come this day. I'll see you at the gym at 10 a.m. Like I would like, I wouldn't be like, I'll pay you this much because to me, anyone that I would ask is probably a fighter too. So we're both getting something out of it.
Right. But if you bring them in, I think it's okay to pay someone, but I wouldn't want to get paid to be a smart. Yeah. I feel like I'm not a punching bag. Like, pay for hire. Like,
like if someone, I remember, I think Aspen Ladd maybe asked me to go, but then it like at the time I was like in camp and I'm like I wouldn't leave during camp.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I would go. Just because I'm like if I wasn't in camp, like
it would be good out of camp.
Just good. I like to cross train with people. Like I would love I wish like girls, maybe they do, just not with me. I wish they did that more because I would love to train with other girls to come here and train with, or maybe go somewhere else. I just kind of am a homebody with that.
It'd be cool to have someone come and like stay and do that, but they would have to really be.
I don't think they have to be like getting
grinding.
paid, but if someone's asking you and you're not in the, like if the UFC fighter is asking you to come and spar with them and they have to at least pay your travel and like hook you up with like stay.
I think if they're asking you to come, I think that it's okay to. There's a difference between like cross training and bringing in a specific look. I need to spar you because you're this, or that. Then I think it's okay. You should maybe get paid.
I think so too. Yeah. If you're like, especially if they're asking you to do specific things and.
Right. But if you're the high ranked fighter, like, I don't think that you should expect to get paid.
Yeah.
Really. But
I guess it just all depends. I always just think too, like.
I don't think that happens as much as people think in MMA. Because like you said, there's your team and there's, a lot of training partners.
Yeah. Corey Anderson I train with him and he has people come in a lot.
He pays for them to come in?
I don't know if he pays for them, but I think like some of maybe I'm sure he pays for their like flight, but then they're definitely getting work, but they're his sparring partners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They for sure are because he doesn't have that many big guys.
There's probably not many guys who could spar him. So his is probably a little bit different. Because he's so big and I know I have like
guys that are in the UFC currently come. So maybe then I don't think you have to pay them, but maybe like I said, pay their flight,
put them up,
travel and like hotel type of thing, or have them stay with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hook them up, but you don't have to, but I think you should.
Yeah. What else? Anything else? Zane, you got anything for us?
You didn't do any. You weren't like at someone's house where they were lighting fireworks by themselves, were they?
No.
That's crazy how many people do that. We were talking about that too. Like, are you into fireworks? Like, if your buddy is like, Zane, bro, come over. I got a hookup and I just bought so many fireworks. Are you like sick, man? I'm coming right over.
I don't know if I could. I'd be scared.
I don't really get it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I love watching fireworks like on 4th of July. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. I think they're like, like magical and fun, but I don't really understand if you're like, yo, my bro went to Pennsylvania.
Like people drive to Pennsylvania to get them.
And they bought like $1,000 worth of fireworks. And like, no matter what you do at home, it's not like the actual town's fireworks. So it's like all you're doing, I don't know. It's just kind of,
I don't really get it.
I'm not a firework girl, like home firework
It's not good
girl.
for the environment either.
Yeah. And people, they, what they do is like, they're done. And then like later that night, they put them in, this happened to a couple people, then they put them in throw them out. And then they spark back up and their house gets on fire.
No way, really?
They say you're supposed to like, when you do them, you're supposed to leave them out for like 24 hours, then hose them down, then throw it away.
Wow.
They said some people like that happens like every year. They throw them out and then it sparks in the trash can and their house lights on fire.
Wow, that's terrible.
Terrible 4th of July.
Terrible 4th of July.
Do you guys run your dryer while you sleep?
Huh?
Do you guys run your dryer while you guys sleep?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Why?
That shit gives me so much anxiety.
Why?
Because it's just like dryer fires and like, I don't know.
Oh, I don't even know what a dryer fire is.
Like that's like I don't know. There's like so much like, I don't know what to call it. Like maybe like not propaganda, but like there's so much like fear about that online.
Fear mongering?
Yeah. And
I've never heard that about the.
You have to clean out the dust trap.
I do it every time, but even then it's like, I don't know. Like
I do that just so it can collect more, not because of fire.
I do like so much laundry for like jujitsu, and then it's like, it would be like 2 a.m. and it's like, fuck, I have to run the dryer. Like I can't go to bed.
Oh,
really? So
really?
you'll stay awake?
I'll stay awake.
Damn.
I'm just like, I can't. Like, what if it catches on fire? Then grandma dies, and, and then people are gonna blame me for grandma dying, and like I don't know, be the reason grandma died.
I mean, yeah, that would obviously
true.
suck.
Yeah.
But I never feared or even knew that was a possibility. Really?
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't worry about that.
I don't think that you have to worry about that. Throwing fireworks out in the trash maybe sounds a little bit scarier than
That's
running
what
your
it is.
dryer.
Oh, you know what it was? It was when we were in school. There'd be like these like PSA videos about like fires, and it always started with a dryer fire.
And make sure
yeah.
you blow your candles out.
Yeah, or like let's say you have like an outlet, it's like half plugged in.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
outlets are a big thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start a fire or like a spark. Or like if you get it wet, but there's outlets like for hair dryers right next to the sink. Like, is it that dangerous? I feel like they wouldn't do that.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm scared of fires.
Me too.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have any fires. But yeah, so
We
good
went
4th
to-
of July. What
We
do?
were away on vacation. We went to Long Beach Island, New Jersey for like 5 days.
Yeah, sick. That's why we're a couple days late on this.
And that's why we look so baked.
Yeah,
I'm so dark. I would just want to keep getting darker and darker.
yeah,
Some people don't know about me that I get this dark, but
Super
it's
dark.
Armenian blood in me.
yeah, definitely.
I think Kyle was the tannest person on the beach.
That's what you said.
Yeah. And also, I want to ask why, when you're on vacation, ice cream does not count.
Well, I think that's like Long Beach Island for whatever reason is like a
Ice cream
real
culture.
ice cream culture.
I think
Like,
that's
every
why-
block there's a new ice cream place.
Yeah, I think that's everywhere, like beaches in general, maybe like East Coast beaches.
Yeah.
That's a thing, but like you just go to out to ice cream every single night. If you're there for 2 weeks straight, you're getting it 14 days in a row.
Yeah,
Pretty much,
a lot of
right?
ice cream, yeah.
I mean, I thought I was thinking for a second, I'm like, oh, I was pretty balanced. And like I didn't get ice cream every night. And then I'm like, wait, I only got it 3 out of the 5 nights. And then I'm like, wait, the night I didn't get it, I had key lime pie. And then the other night I had ricotta cheesecake.
It's super fun.
So I definitely had like dessert every night.
So Zane, we were at an ice cream place, and kids always come up to Pablo. Pablo's in our line. And people are always like, "Oh, can I pet your dog?" Like,
Sometimes
all
it's annoying.
Kids, you know?
It's so nice, but sometimes I'm like, I can't even like take him out and walk him without people just coming. Like they can't get over him, which is amazing. I mean, he's the cutest dog in the world. But sometimes I'm like, all right, like enough.
Yeah. So we're standing in line, and a guy comes up, and he was like probably like a middle-aged guy, like 50 years old, 45, and he was like, "Would you mind if I had a little time with him?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Can I have a little time with him?" He's like, I love Frenchies." I'm like, okay. So he squat down. He was like petting him, like touching his face and
Zane
stuff.
looks horrified.
And then he stood up. And he's like, "Thank you for sharing." And I was like, "You're welcome." But like at
That
a
was
certain
so-
age, I think it's too old to say, "Can I pet your dog?" right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like
Well,
past, I think like almost like what? For a girl, it's a little different, but for a male, I'd say like past like 14, 15.
Yeah,
It's
unless like the
kinda-
dog like walks up to you. Say you're out in public and you have a dog and they walk up and they're like, "Oh, is he?"
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
If the dog like kind of comes up to you, like if you're sitting on a bench and I'm walking my dog and he comes up to you, like, "Oh, can I pet him?" Like that. But if like you and me were talking and I saw
Yeah.
him behind you and I was like, "What's this
I
guy
was like,
doing?"
this guy wasted, but he wasn't.
He was dead sober.
Yeah.
He was just a weirdo, but he was like, yeah, he comes, he's like, he like couldn't help himself. Like he went out of his way to walk up to us and like say that. I was like, that's kind of creepy. Like, yeah, I think if you're over a certain age, you don't go out of your way to run up to someone and ask if you can pet their dog.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then he
kinda
was like, I have 2 Frenchies at home because just so you know, they have really, really bad back problems. Mine had to have surgery, blah, blah, blah. And
he was
his
telling
dog-
us all these like problems with Frenchies and giving us advice on Frenchie ownership. And he was like, one's 4 and one's 2. Pablo's 7. So we're like, we have twice the experience.
Yeah, like it's not like I was like, oh, I'm thinking about getting one. How do you like them? People do that
Right.
all the time. They're like, and it's almost kind of rude. They come up to me, they're like, oh my God, he's so cute. I love them. I really want one, but they have really bad breathing problems. Or they're like, don't they have awful breathing problems? I'm like, I mean, I hope not. I mean,
Yeah.
I love them. Like, I don't know. It's just, even if you think that, like, why would you say that to
Right.
someone that already has one? It's just kind of weird. Or it's like, you know what I mean? That's like similar to be like, oh, I love your dog, but I heard they only live to be this old. It's like,
Right.
okay, like, why are you bringing that up? Like, keep that stuff to yourself.
It's weird.
People are so weird. But yeah, everyone loves Pablo.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
He's the
Everyone.
man. He gets me so many chicks when I take him out on walks.
I bet.
Yeah.
That's
Everyone
when
in
you're
the
like, okay,
neighborhood.
girls can say, can I pet your dog?
Yeah. Girls could say it.
No, then I'm like, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm like,
But middle-aged guys, I don't think that's
Thanks
an
for
appropriate
sharing.
question. Yeah, thanks
Nah.
for sharing.
Creepy.
pedophile
But
vibes.
yeah, so that's it. You get another episode out right away.
Sorry
It's
we
gonna
were
be
a little
quick
late.
turnaround.
Sorry we were a
late.
little late, but I was eating ice cream.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.